wanted to have story, we wanted to have combat, we wanted to have everything, but we didn't have the time or the manpower.
The challenge was, what do we do? Do we build a more linear narrative story, or do we focus on action and throwing down with monsters? We went back and forth as a team. I guess I can do what I do with the team and just play the game a bit. It was really a struggle because we had this game that was being built out from a story standpoint, but we're making a co-op game and the pace of play needs to be kept really high. We want the adrenaline to be pumping for players, and having those beats of downtime too frequently kind of took players out of that adrenaline rush for the game. At a point in production, we looked at what we had, we looked at the game, and some of the parts of the game that were really standing out were the combat. We use the term emergent combat to describe the way that combat flows in the game, where you're choosing at any given moment to be moving, dodging, or blocking or parrying. And by performing those actions, the combat will emerge into really spectacular choreographies of offense and defense. We really wanted to lean into giving players that free-flowing expression of combat and getting into the rhythm, and we had to make a choice of where to dedicate our efforts and time and energy because we're a relatively small team, and to do a good job at that, we really needed to focus.
We knew just making a fighting game work is already a huge challenge, especially with 4 different characters that you can play and a bunch of different size monsters that go from 30 feet to 5 feet. So that was already a big piece to try to figure out. So we sort of decided, let's go all our efforts into combat.
I worry that we chose to go down the path of combat. I'm still worried about it. I don't know if players are gonna get into it like I get into it and like the rest of the team gets into it.
It's the exciting part. The combat is when, am I gonna die or not? And it's definitely where everybody gets into the moment.
One of the things that stood out in the books of R.A. Salvatore was how choreographed each of the fight scenes with Drizzt and the companions was. We felt we needed to do that justice and give players a really deep and articulated moveset so that they can express the breadth of combat the way that we envisioned it from the books.
It was a great feeling to find out that we're making an action RPG. My background is heavily in combat, even as a programmer. I was very excited to hear that we're making quite a combat-heavy game.
I could see that there was a great variety of monsters and characters that we could play with to have a combat that's distinct and unique. So that's basically why I wanted to join team.
When I found out that the game was going to be more combat action RPG, for me it was just exciting to know there would be a lot of monsters to rig. It's super fun to go with friends and tackle different type of enemies.
It gives our game a cool flavor that we're showcasing on the enemies. Here's who you're going to kill. Here's the world you're in.
We want to make the best game possible for players, and we want to make the Forgotten Realms super immersive. You want to go in there, you want to feel the harshness of Icewind Dale, you want to feel how dangerous these monsters are. Our game is about the part of D&D when the Dungeon Master says roll for initiative, and then you go at it with a bunch of goblins and giants and beholders and dragons. We're a spiritual successor to Dark Alliance 1 and 2. It's not a sequel. We don't continue the story's events. Dark Alliance is this Dark Alliance of monsters that are descending upon Icewind Dale to claim this powerful artifact for themselves and turn the tide of the Blood War. But also it is heavily focused on the action and visceral nature of Icewind Dale.
It's fun to be empowered by the hero's abilities, by their combat moves, and bashing these monsters and just trying to overcome the odds of many monsters versus a few companions. It's always fun.